Let's listen in because he's now speaking in English.
I came voluntarily from the Dáil in Dublin to Antrim Barracks last Wednesday, having contacted the PSNI 2 months ago through my solicitor, Seamus Collins, to tell them that I was available to meet with them following yet another spate of media speculation, part of a sustained, malicious, untruthful and sinister campaign alleging involvement by me in the killing of Mrs. Jean McConville. When the PSNI contacted my solicitor on Monday afternoon, I was concerned about the timing, given that Sinn Féin is involved in a very important European election and local government elections across the island of Ireland. But I quickly made arrangements to go to Antrim, and I left Leinster House, the Oireachtas, during leaders' questions with the Taoiseach to do so. I want to thank my solicitor, Mr. Collins, for his diligence and professional approach, and his colleague, Eugene McKenna. I also want to thank everyone who sent messages, goodwill messages to Colette and our family, and to my comrades in Sinn Féin for their solidarity. Tommy, Fuir gives you a lig. I am conscious that there is another family at the heart of all of this, and that is the family of Jean McConville. Let me be very clear. I am innocent of any involvement in any conspiracy to abduct, kill or bury Mrs. McConville. I have worked hard with others to have this injustice redressed and for the return of the bodies of others killed during the conflict and secretly buried by the IRA, and I will continue to do so. The commission set up by the two governments, at my request and at the request of the late Father Alex Reid, has said that it is receiving 100% support from Republicans. Indeed, myself and Martin McGuinness were to meet the Commission, we do this privately, around this time as part of this work. I'm mindful also that tomorrow is the anniversary of the death and hunger strike of H Block martyr Bobby Sands. Sitting in my cell in recent days, I reflected on that and on the dreadful summer of 1981. But of course, this is not 1981. This is not 1972. The people of this island, with a few exceptions, have carved out a new dispensation. So while the past needs to be dealt with, and Sinn Féin is up for doing this, including the issue of victims and their families, there can be no going back. There is no possibility of going back. Peace needs to be built with determination and a consistent focus. That remains my attention, my commitment, and Sinn Féin's constant endeavour. I bear no animosity to anyone. I have no wish to be treated differently from anyone else. I'm an activist. This is my life, and I am philosophical, and I understand that I have detractors and opponents, and I especially understand that there are sinister elements who are against the change that Sinn Féin and others are committed to achieving. I did not go to Antrim Barracks expecting special treatment, but it is crucial that everyone is treated fairly. And I seek fair treatment, not just for myself, or only for myself, but because it's crucially important that the signal goes out, that everybody knows that these are changed times, that things have changed, that they will be treated fairly, and that we can all have hope and confidence in the new developing dispensation, including the police service. To send any other signal is to encourage the bigots. So I make the case that those who authorised my arrest and detention could have done it differently. They had discretion. They did not have to use pernicious, coercive legislation to deal with a legacy issue, even one as serious as this, which I was voluntarily prepared to deal with. They did not have to do this in the middle of an election campaign. Remember, I contacted them 2 months ago. Despite this, I want to make it clear that I support the PSNI. I will continue to work with others to build a genuinely civic policing service. The old guard, which is against change, whether in the PSNI leadership, within elements of unionism, or the far fringes of self-proclaimed but pseudo-republicans, they can't win. The dark side of the British system cannot be allowed to deny anyone, any of our people, Catholic, Protestant or dissenter, from our entitlement to a rights-based, citizen-centred society as set out in the Good Friday Agreement. I'm an Irish Republican. I want to live in a peaceful Ireland based on equality. I've never dissociated myself from the IRA, and I never will. But I'm glad that I and others have created a peaceful and democratic way forward for everyone. The IRA is gone. It's finished. During my interrogation, much was made by my interrogators about my time in the 60s, in the civil rights campaign. My arrest and detention in Palace Barracks in early 70s, my time in Long Kesh, even the peace talks in 1972, newspaper articles, photographs of myself and Martin McGuinness at Republican funerals were produced. Books and other open source material was used as the basis of many of the accusations made against me. Much of the interrogations concerned the so-called Belfast Project, conceived by Paul Bew, university lecturer and a former advisor to Unionist leader David Trimble, and run by Ed Maloney and Anthony McIntyre as part of the Boston College. Both Maloney and McIntyre are opponents of the Sinn Féin leadership and our peace strategy, and have interviewed former Republicans who are also hostile to me and other Sinn Féin leaders. They have accused us of betrayal and sellout and said we should be shot because of our support for the Good Friday Agreement and policing. The allegations of conspiracy made against me in the killing of Mrs. McConville is based almost exclusively on hearsay from unnamed, alleged Boston College interviewees, but mostly from Dolores Price and Brendan Hughes. Other anonymous, alleged Belfast Project interviewees, interviewed only by a letter of the alphabet. So I was told that interviewee R or interviewee A had made such and such a comment in an interview. One of these is claimed by the PSNI to be Ivor Bell, although the interrogators, when I pressed them, told me that he's denied the allegations. I reject all the allegations and rejected all the allegations made against me in these tapes. Finally, let me make it clear, because I'm fairly certain that people are concerned, and this is not about me. This process of change, this necessary development of an open, citizen-based, rights-centred society is bigger than any individual, so I'm irrelevant. But let me make it clear that there's only one way for our society to go, and that's forward. No way back. There will be bumps on the road, and yes, we do have to deal with the past, and Sinn Féin have set out our intention to do that, and our willingness to support the Haas and Megan O'Sullivan proposals, and our other propositions to do that are there for everyone to see. But there will be diversions as well. But most importantly, there are elements out there who are actively erecting obstacles, actively seeking to put up diversions. So we know that. I thank everyone for their support. I extend sympathy once again to the McConville family and all those who have suffered, especially at the hands of Republicans. So that clearly is a special responsibility for us, especially those of us who survived the conflict, to deal with. So my resolve, and I'm sure the resolve of this leadership, remains as strong as ever. That is to build the peace, not to let this put us off, not to let anyone use this as an excuse, not to let anyone, whether it's in the dark side or within the individuals who try to prevent us from leaving the barracks, not to let any of those stop citizens here having their full rights and entitlements. It's up to all of us, and there is a role here for civic society, for church leaderships, for trade unions, for governments, and for every citizen out there. It's our future. The past is the past. The future is about children. The future is about grandchildren. The future is about the rights of citizens to live in an Ireland in which everybody can be comfortable. So don't let anyone rob our people, all of our people, of that right. We need equality and we need justice for everyone. Gora Míle Mágah.
Okay, so we'll take some questions. Tommy?
Two questions, Gerry Adams. While you were holding this news conference here, Michael McConville is holding a news conference elsewhere in the city. What have you got to say to him? And secondly, at any stage during your detention since last Wednesday, did you think you were going to face charges of any sort?
Well, for all I know, I can still face charges. I don't know. There is no basis for charges against me. My message to Michael McConville, like every other victim, but particularly because of the way his mother was abducted and the 10 children were left orphaned, is that this was a grave injustice. And we can't bring Mrs. McConville back, but we can help the family and are committed to helping the family in any way that is possible. And I regret very much what happened. We're in a better place. I'm sure Michael McConville knows that. I'm sure he has children and he wants them to grow up in a better place than he had to grow up. So all of us together can do that. And I've also found, and Mark McGuinness here has spoken about this at length at different times, some of the victims of the conflict have been the strongest supporters of the peace process, the strongest supporters of the peace process. And all of us have to keep that focus in the time ahead.
Mr. Adams, can I check whether it is just the timing of you were arrested you objected to? In other words, if you were arrested next month, would you have been very happy to go there and be questioned, even if it had lasted 4 days?
Well, first of all, I got in touch 2 months ago because there was a story, a bit of a flurry in the media about this. I would have went at any time. But my point is, they could have arranged to meet me any time. Why wait until the middle of the election? I also, and I told the senior people in Antrim, this is sending an entirely wrong signal to those who don't want the process to work. I don't even think, for what it's worth, and part of the Haas proposals recognise that, these are proposals, by the way, that unions haven't signed up to, but they recognise the right of a family to seek legal redress if that's what they want. Many don't, but some do. So we support that. We have signed up for that. So I have no problem working with the police on these matters and made myself available. But I think that they had discretion. I know of lots of people. You see, this event, serious though it was, this unfortunate tragedy for the family perpetrated by Republicans, happened 42 years ago. There was no flight, there was no risk, there was no danger to anyone at this time. I know lots of people on even more current charges who have been invited to go to a police station, who have been put under caution, who have been interrogated and have been put. It doesn't stop the interrogators or the investigators doing their job. But no, they opted for a piece of legislation that should have been kicked out, one which totally denies citizens their rights. And that's my objection. It's just not, it's the old guard using the old methods when a better way of getting the same result would have probably assisted their investigation, but certainly wouldn't have sent the type of signal it sent to people who really want a hope in the future.
Sorry, hold on.
Like came to 10 or 4 days, 4 nights inside a police station.
It was okay.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you, what do you think your relationship is going to be like now with Peter Robinson, given today that he accused Sinn Féin and Republicans of using bully boy tactics? How do you think your relationship will be with Peter Robinson now?
Well, Peter Robinson is a partner in government with us and is in a co-equal position with my comrade and our leader, Martin McGuinness. So Peter has work to do with us, and we have work to do with him, and we will continue to do that. And I said, and I wrote those remarks in my cell this morning. I said that we're totally and absolutely committed to this peace process, that there will be blockages and difficulties and bumps in the road, but there's only one way, and that's forward.
Sorry, Gerry.
What did you tell police during your detention, and what does this mean for Sinn Féin, the party, and policing?
Well, Sinn Féin remains totally and absolutely wedded to the ongoing development of a new political dispensation, including a new policing dispensation, and with some work to do. When I was leaving, I commended the custody staff because I thought that they were decent in terms of how they were doing their job. But I did make a formal complaint about one particular aspect of my interrogation, and I want in due course to reflect on the structure within that holding centre. I think it's not up to the type of standards that one would expect, and the food in it is uneatable. I didn't eat for the first number of days because it just wasn't possible to digest it. I told, as I have outlined, the PSNI that I reject absolutely the allegation that they were making against me.
Gerry, the nature of the interview you described, going back to the 60s, the 70s, into the 72 peace talks that you described, this clearly was a wider interview than just the Jean McConville killing. Do you think this was an investigation that was also looking at a possible charge of IRA membership?
Yes, I think that was part of the allegation made against me. It actually went back before the 60s. It went back to when I was about 18 months. I'm serious. And when I lived for a short while in Greencastle, and then it meandered through my childhood. And clearly what they were doing what one would call a phased interrogation. So just let me check. So they did 33 taped interviews. So that, as I explained earlier, in terms of the phased nature of it, if they had a charge against me, one presumes that they would have made a charge against me. But they offered no evidence against me whatsoever. And the only allegations made against me were based, as I've said earlier, on these, I want to be accurate here, on these Boston tapes and the mishmash of newspaper articles, books, photographs, open source material. So, I mean, they're perfectly entitled to do that. Don't get me wrong. That's their job. I'm not objecting to that. I just think that in all of this, those who authorised this didn't make the right strategic decision for policing.
Who do you think did authorise it?
I don't know. The application, as you may know, you're held for 12 hours and then an inspector has to come in and authorise for another 12 hours. It's actually a wee bit like John Cleese, where I put the case to the inspector that no evidence had been put to me at 12 hours, which was grounds to let me out. And my solicitor also protested to the custody people. And he took all of the blink of an eyelid to turn down my representation. And that went on. There was a superintendent. I thought it was quite interesting. A superintendent, after I think 36 hours, they bring in a superintendent. So this superintendent came in and did the same thing, and then again extended my detention. But he told me he was there to, he wasn't involved in the case, and he was there to adjudicate on this. And then when they went to the court, which they have to do after I think 48 hours, it was the same superintendent who applied to the court to have my detention extended. The same man who presented himself as not involved in the case and indeed adjudicating. So there are lots of things in this process and in this system which aren't up to 2014 standards of policing or the rights of citizens.
Okay, I'm going to take two more. No, sorry, yourself. Go ahead.
Were you worried about doing this infantry, and are you worried now about what impacts or repercussions that your arrest may have?
My only worry, and I don't want to sound, as if I'm devoid of any concern. I obviously have friends. I have a wife. I have family. This is a new experience for some of them, particularly the younger members. So obviously, I'm concerned about all of them. But as I said in my remarks, I'm an activist. This is the life I have. This is part of it. If you make a stand, if you want to change things in a society which is as bedded down as on this one in very bad practice, then you have to be prepared for the possibility that you could end up in the situation that I ended up in. But my major concern, and I repeat this, is the signal that this could send out. And that's why I so strongly stressed that this party is totally and absolutely committed to building the peace, no matter what comes, no matter who tries to prevent it. And it isn't our process. It's for everybody. And citizens need to be vigilant and alert to this. There are young people in this hotel, there are young people out in those streets, there are young people in the Shankill Road, young people in Ballymena never saw armoured cars, tanks, guns, British soldiers, never saw anyone killed or injured, never had to visit a prison. There are legions of women who are free from the burden of going to cemeteries from all sides. And yes, there are issues like Mrs. McConville's killing and burial and the others that need to be dealt with, and we're up for that. But all of those who have never experienced that don't deserve ever to experience it.
Okay, no, sorry. Number the one. I'm going to take one last question here, but first, you're indicating. Are you okay?
What's your name? Caddy? Tiernan. And McGill go good. Neil. And McGill go good Neil. Ta. Tá mé go hunn tugar fád agus tá mé há sásta a bhfuil lása.
Take one last one and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead.
There are a lot of other Boston College trips out there, and there's no legal precedent for them to be used. Do you believe in that context there should now be an amnesty for historical crimes for the sake of political stability?
No, we've never called for an amnesty, but let me tell you this: these Boston tapes are an entirely dubious project. I mean, to be faced. I was in Long Cash when you were brought to a commission and a police officer stood behind a curtain and you didn't know who he was, and he was called Police Officer A. Right? But now, how many years was it now? 40 years? To be told that you're accused by interviewee A or R or X. That's not a judicial system. So don't be, too mesmerised about the Boston tapes as being an evidential basis of any kind against anybody by disgruntled, anti-peace process individuals who represent no one whatsoever.
No, an ceist tarnach ó Onion.
Operating couple of sharp now on show ma who's for two modular rotating a mission frame full set to attack here one the horse done a polling to some data Christian chapter to tell us how child and the convent and all.
Well, tá agam mar a dúirt me go bhfuil an teile McCampbell ag crí an troide seo agus tá rud go háan mí ceart deanta ag an teile sin agus go háirithe an bán úsal Jean McCampbell agus rinn an IRA rinn ó glí na hurranna. So tá mé fear brúnach faoi sin agus tá mé seo agus daoine eile an ceannaach sin féna dhéanamh níhil é sin a chur i gceart. Faoi na pléine tá méid ag tuairt taca den na pléine, tá méid sásta a lán ará leis an prósés se hána ní líon bóthar eile ní líon slí eile ach ceann an siáán a cure ceann céin nó a cure chun tosaigh.
Okay, Gerry, good. Thank you.